I'm not one to air my dirty laundry in public, but this has started to feel like a living nightmare, and I can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. It began a few months ago when my husband, Greg, started bringing home a collection of vintage radios he found at estate sales. I thought it was a quirky yet harmless hobby, but soon his obsession took a twisted turn. He'd spend hours tinkering away in our dimly lit basement, meticulously restoring each radio, which at first felt endearing, but later it morphed into something more sinister. It was the way he talked to them, like they were old friends or confidants. He'd sit cross-legged on the floor, fiddling with the dials, murmuring, "It's all right, buddy, we'll get you fixed up soon," and I couldn't shake off the chill running down my spine each time I heard him. It drove me mad with worry, yet I brushed it off as one of those midlife crises that men seem to have. Then one night, after another exhausting day at work, I just snapped. I stood at the foot of the basement stairs, shivering as I listened to another muffled, almost pleading voice emanating from the radios, distorted but strangely urgent. Suddenly, a cacophony of static interrupted the night, and the voice seemed to weave through the cracks, promising unseen things like events to come or secrets better left unearthed. My heart raced, and I screamed down the stairs, "Shut up, Greg." It echoed in the walls, reaching an unnatural pitch as an unsettling silence fell over the room. I just wanted it to end, his nights of obsessive tinkering that pulled him deeper into madness while I stood helpless, watching him slip away, one radio at a time. He appeared moments later, confusion painted on his face, and I saw the way he almost flinched at my outburst. I panicked, feeling the weight of the night pressing down on me like a suffocating blanket. "It's not me," he insisted, his voice trembled, emotion heavy in the silence. But it couldn't have been anything else. I noticed a new radio near the stairs, an old RCA model with the eeriest of designs, weathered and tarnished, as if it had been pulled from a grave. "You have to stop this," I begged, my voice cracking, tears blurring my sight as shadows flickered in the corner of my vision. He turned away, mumbling something I couldn't decipher, racing back into the basement as the static returned, washing over me like a haunting wave. Almost nightly, Greg would descend into that basement filled with technological nightmares, each repair entrenching him deeper in a cycle, while I lay awake, haunted by the murmurings of voices that twisted through the floors like an underground river of secrets. The static grew louder, more persistent, rising in unison with my anxiety until insomnia claimed its throne. My husband, so consumed by whatever he was chasing, became a ghost in our home. I missed the small gestures, his laughter, and the warmth we'd once shared. "You'll regret it," a voice floated from the radio one evening, its tone chilling, as if it were mocking my desperate pleas to save my husband and reclaim the life we once had. I decided I couldn't let it spiral any further. I rummaged through the basement one evening, ready to confront whatever was festering in the dark when I felt the radios watching me. More than just machines, they were menacing, malevolent eyes that drew me into their magnetic hold. That night, I pulled one from its place beneath Greg's clutter and brought it back upstairs, flinging it onto the kitchen table. "You want to talk?" I shouted, edging closer as I flipped the switch on. A jarring screech filled the air, and I immediately regretted the choice. I could have sworn I felt a chill grip my heart as I crouched near it. Rather than finding the static, I heard a voice clearer than before, yet it was Greg's, wrapped in layers of regret and something darker. "I told you not to listen." My stomach sank, pulling me deeper into a black pit of fear as I realized this was not just a radio, it was a vessel, a conduit for something that had crept into our lives, turning my husband into a hollow shell consumed by static and whispers of things I couldn't understand. "Make it stop," I pleaded, desperation clawing at my throat as the voice twisted my thoughts around like vines choking the life from a tree. The radio crackled. "You should have listened." I dropped it, my heart pounding like a war drum, the echoes haunting my mind, and in that instant, Greg stood behind me, his eyes wild, unfocused as if he were looking through me rather than at me. I took a step back, fear radiating from my every sense, and mumbled an apology, but all he did was shake his head slowly, a sorrowful expression creeping across his features. "You don't understand," he whispered, his voice breaking as he reached out, fingers trembling as they brushed against the vintage radio, almost as if trying to beg it for forgiveness. "It won't end until I'm finished." Something in me snapped anew as I knew I had to take a stand. So much of him was trapped down there, I could feel it like a frayed string of yarn unraveling into madness, and before he could fully comprehend, I grabbed the radio, my heart racing, smashing it against the floor with a sickening crack. The